The Okeechobee Utility Authority meeting on March the 18th, 2025. At this time, I'd like to ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America. At this time, determination of voting members. Ms. Anderson.
Present.
Mr. Gilliland.
Present.
Mr. Hargraves. Mr. Mollenhauer.
Present.
Myself. Mr. Snyder. Mr. Trent.
Ms. Trent is here.
Ms. Trent, excuse me. I do apologize. My glasses. Okay, and I'll see alternative. Good morning, sir. Okay. Moving down to item agenda number 2. John?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the agenda item number 2 is just recognizing the appointments made by both the county for Tabitha Trent and Glenn Snyder, and the city reappointing Mr. Gilliland to their respective terms.
Moving on down to item agenda number 4.
Three, sir.
I'm sorry. Glades County Representative appointment. My glasses.
So as provided by the interlocal agreement, the voting board members for the city and the county get to select those representing the Glades County area for both a regular member and an alternate. Currently filled by Mr. Moldenhauer and Ms. Anderson.
Excuse me. Okay.
So it's the board's pleasure for motions, or discussions, or motions for those appointments by the city and the county representatives.
Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
To be clear, the motion is what, sir?
To accept the appointments from both the city and the county.
Keeping them this,
Keeping them the same.
Glades County.
Glades County, excuse me. Glades County.
okay, so to be sure to reappoint to their current positions.
Correct, yes.
Is that what the motion is?
Just one position. I'm not up for election.
That's correct. Just Melanie only.
I am sorry, that is correct. Sorry, Mr. Mulder. It is for Melanie Anderson as an alternate.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Moving down. Item number 4. Election of officers.
So, as you can see in the board package and per the interlocal agreement, the current chairperson, vice chairman, and second vice chairman have served one year of their possible 2-year terms. They are up for election, and at this time, if the board is so inclined, I would like to be able to open the meeting for discussion for chairperson. Either new or reappointment of Mr. Nelson.
Good for another year, Steve?
If the board so desires, that'd be my pleasure.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion that we continue as is.
We get an increase in salary.
Yeah, you get double.
Double.
Paid all.
Yes, thank you.
So the motion is to reappoint Steve Nelson as chairman for another year. That's the first. Second?
Harry second.
There is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion has it. Mr. Nelson, back to you, sir.
I thank the board for giving me the ability to continue. I promise to do my very best as always. Okay, moving on to the second reappointment of the current vice chair.
I'd like to nominate John Yellowland.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussions?
Who's the second?
Harry.
Harry,
Okay, so
all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome back on, sir. Second vice chairperson?
I nominate Tabitha Trent.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Whew, that's fast.
Moving on to item agenda number 5, the agenda additions or deletions at this time.
So, Mr. Chairman and Board, there are 2 additions, one this morning, but the one that came out later than, I think it was on Monday, was a proposal we did get over the weekend from the South Florida Water Management District as a cost-sharing item for the water and wastewater system going north to their new field service station. They are installing both water main and force main to go up to their new service station they're building up on Hilliard Road. They needed a 10-inch water main. The OUA does not like to necessarily install 10-inch water main. It's more parts that we got to keep, plus the idea that there could be other customers, there will be other customers on there. So we elected to ask them to put in a 12-inch water main, and rightfully so. You know, we should pay for that material difference going from 10-inch to 12-inch. And likewise on the force main, coming back to town, we were going to connect up a couple customers. So we did have some additional piping for that. If you can see in their attachment, the attachment for the extra piping is $162,646 is what they're proposing. In the map, you can see that we're putting in thousands of feet of piping, picking up new customers from ARS up to the Forestry Service Center, both water and wastewater. My recommendation to you is that that is a good return on that investment of $162,646, and I would certainly recommend approval from the board for that expenditure.
John, when you say new customers, so I'm just thinking about the forestry compound there. Are they definitely going to add?
They've already paid their fees for the meter to be set when the water main is cleared for service.
So does this include piping going into those homes?
No, sir, it goes to their driveway,
Okay.
and then they would have to come to the meter that we would set out at the road right away.
That would be their cost.
Yes, sir. Same from Margaret Villa and all those places. They would come to us at the road right away.
So has any other customer already prepaid their fee?
I know there's other ones like Margaret Villa and a place like that have already paid their fees. They're ready to connect up. I don't know about the different churches or ARS. Do you remember, Michelle, if any of those?
I think the church.
One of the churches has paid.
How many customers would be in Margaretville?
I don't. Do you remember the count? Jamie, do you remember count? I'm going to guess it's 40 or 50 RV sites in there.
The same thing, they would come to us.
Yes, sir.
Those individual meters have master meter.
That would be a master meter for the Margaretville. And for the forestry, for that matter.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's multiple houses back there.
At this time, do we have a motion to accept the price bid?
Well, I move that we enter into a cost-sharing agreement with South Florida Water Management to the amount of $162,646 to provide water, wastewater upgrades to the piping they're installing to their facility.
I have a motion by Mr. Moore. Go ahead, second.
I do have a question before we
Yes,
finalize the motion. So there is no mandatory hookup here?
Yes, there is.
Okay, just want to make sure. Then I'll second.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, agenda item 5B, it's a new item which was only placed or included last night. First, I'd like to give my apology for such a last-minute inclusion. But the bond counsel, the authority bond counsel, Mr. William Kafka, deemed it necessary that this resolution be placed before the board before the loan closing, which is scheduled for April 2nd. Now, the board can, Mr. Chairman, you can elect to address 5B at this moment, or item number 32 also addresses issues relating to the loan closure, which will take place on April 2nd. Do we want to proceed with this addition, or do we want to put both items together when we reach the 32?
If it's of any consequence, we know we're going to go through with 32, the process, but we would still have to discuss it and go through those motions. So this is something that we could easily defer until we get through with 32, if you want to.
Let's defer it until 32.
Okay, then.
I think it's better flow.
Moving on to item agenda number 6, the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, consent agenda is there provided with numerous invoices labeled there from 7 through 23. If there is any one item or more items that you wish to push to deal separately, that is fine, or we would entertain a motion to accept as presented the consent agenda you find in your board package.
I'd like to pull 15 and 16 for, I just saw some math discrepancies to that.
Which one?
15 and 16?
15 and 16? Okay.
Anybody else wish to pull anything as well? Okay, at this time then, do we have a motion to accept?
The remaining agenda items, yes, sir.
I will make a motion to accept the remaining agenda items.
I have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. Now, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving down to item agenda number 15.
Harry, did you say there was a math?
Going down to July 24 there. No, I think it's the next one. No, yeah.
It was July 24th, so Kevin.
Well, actually, June 24. We got a balance of 399, 336.
I see it, there's a, okay, I see what the problem is.
And then we didn't subtract out. And then the next one. I mean, all the way down there, those numbers just don't jive at that point.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll get those numbers corrected.
Okay.
But as you can see, the invoice that's being requested, 6473.91, is going to impact the remaining balance, but there is remaining balance that would cover that.
Right. I would move that we pay the invoice of $64.73.91.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Going on to item agenda number 16.
16, the numbers seem off right from the start there.
Yes, okay, we'll go back, we'll reference that.
And again, I would move to pay the invoice of $39,100.80.
I have a motion by Mr. Goldenhauer.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Trent. Any further discussion by the board? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item,
I believe it's 24, so.
moving down to item agenda number 24, the meeting minutes of our last February 18th, 2025. Corrections or deletions at this time? If not, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept as presented.
I have a motion by Ms. Trent. I have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Goldenhauer. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item agenda number 25. There's no employees to be recognized this month. Item agenda number 26. At this time, public comments.
Is she here?
Is Ms. Peggy Sterling present?
Please do. We're gonna just go check and see if she's
Yes. Mr.
waiting out front.
Yes.
Do y'all wanna take a 5-minute break or
5-minute
something?
break?
Well,
Yeah.
oh, good, all right.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late.
That's fine.
You're in time, just in time.
Perfect timing. Okay,
Please state your name.
my name is Peg Footboy Sterling.
Welcome.
I'm a relatively new resident here.
Yes.
I'm retired. I'm 71 years old. And my background is in a couple of different things. I've had like 2 different careers. One is I'm a graphic designer and I deal in marketing and advertising. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, all the way down to self-employed DBAs. Along with that, I have a BS in business organizational management on a macro and a micro level. This is the study of communication and efficiency worldwide and also on a business level. My other career was I dealt with the financial, all of the financial for Putnam County Probation in New York. Putnam County is a conservative county in the state of New York, which is kind of hard to do because you have to watch your back at all times. Anyway, what I did, I wasn't formally trained in accounting, but I wound up heading off their financial department, working directly under the director. We were both new to the job, and I basically kind of like fell into it and had to figure it all out. And we designed the budget. And I came up with a way, using Excel, to be able to, I'm a numbers person, and I'm quite good at it, besides being an artist, so it's kind of like a bipolar sort of. My mind works on both sides. Okay, with that said, I'm here today. The state of the United States, the financial, Elon's finding out all of the extraneous expenditures. I, with my knowledge and background, study money flow and where communication and all of the things to try and make things run smoothly. It's a very basic concept. Here, I'll get right to the point. Florida's population is about 21.5 million people. Out of the state of Florida, 5 million, or 25%, 5,500,000 people are on government assistance, SSI, disability, and Social Security. Here in the state of Florida, that's how much we have, 5 million. Okay? Imagine taking the auto deposits and tying your invoicing and receivables to the auto deposits of these people. That's 25% of your customers. Okay? Is that me? Thank you. Okay, in order to do this, it's very simple. You go into your billing system, and on all of your accounts of each person, okay, there are 3 weeks out of the month that auto deposits for federally assisted people receive their checks. The first week deals with disability people and people on SSI. Now think of these people and what their lives are about. Okay, they're on federal assistance. They need money, and they need homes over their heads. And you as a water company, it's actually more important down here in Florida to have water than it is electric. All of these government agencies, yours, FPL, we're all tied into the government. So if you're taking the money out of the government and you're giving it to your people, why don't you do it in a timely manner? And your dates, when the money gets into their accounts, they have the money to pay their bills. They may not have the education or the mental capacity, you know what I'm saying, to timely pay their bills. Now, whether or not, this is brainstorming. I'm just passing this concept. All of you have a background in something and you're bringing to the table. It's a basic concept. What I did was, once you coordinate this, the second and third week are based on people with Social Security. I have the figures and I'll tell you exactly. These are just rough estimates. I took them from the statistics of the 2020 census. So all of this is just rounded out figures that everybody can understand, and it's theoretic. It's probably even higher than what I'm dealing with. But I had to come up with some kind of a model by which I could explain this whole concept to you, start to finish. Okay. The second and third weeks are based on the distribution of the Social Security deposits on the date the person was born in the month. I was born on the 9th. I get my auto deposit on the second week of the month, every Wednesday. The week before, the people get it every Wednesday. And the third week, it's from the 16th to the end of the month. Okay, so we've got this timing. How do you tie it into your billing? Okay, Social Security number has the date. That we can tie into the records. When you're validating in an account, you get all of that information. The trick is to go into the billing program where your billing program cuts off the end, when it starts to extrapolate for the next month, and it determines late payments, things like that. And all of a sudden you've got the traffic of the penalties mounting up on the person. At the same time, you've got communications to the bank, et cetera, going back and forth when they try and pay it. If we can synchronize those dates, it allows the person to have the money at the time that the money comes in to pay their bills, all of their bills, keep the roof over their heads. They do not have, there's no reason why we have to have people on the streets begging for money and losing their homes. There's no reason. Okay? The government, if they can get their acts together, and I'm talking all agencies, and just coordinate the money flow. This does not infringe on anybody's decision. They can still pay their bills on time by themselves, calling up, making their payments, or they can apply for auto payments. It depends on the person, it's their freedom. But by syncing the people on federal assistance, the timing of the bills due with the government auto deposits, it allows also people that aren't on government assistance, their paychecks and stuff, they automatically will be able to have this timing of their dates. And when they get older, it's already there. Okay, now, Okeechobee and Glades County, I only took Okeechobee and Glades County. You have approximately 2,600 people that are on federal assistance. Okeechobee and Glades County, this number is about not even quite 1% of the population of the total amount of the state of Florida. This is why I'm using, well, I happen to live here, but it turns out you take a very small thing and you apply a theory, and you see how it works. Now, in order to do this, you will have to probably escalate up channels, like the county and then onto the governor's office to really get it. But for right now, I think you can just work with your company. Now, what happens is there's the 2,600, when I took the numbers of what was the financial assistance for that, it came out to an average of $750,000 of federal assistance per month. Per month. That is moving through our local banks and paying bills. Okay, on a state level, it is $1.5 billion through the state of Florida of financial assistance. We're talking big numbers. Every single month. Imagine the traffic going through the banking systems, going to your computers, and trying to keep all of this straight. Now, you know as well as I do what's going on with the world. And we have a lot of security issues. Elon's there with the safety net. The reason why I was going to give you all, I love your smile, thank you. You're very encouraging because I'm like this, okay? Because I'm trying to say something that I realize is a really big picture, but we're starting very, very small.
Peggy, what do you want us to do for you? Let's get to the point, please.
Sir, I thought I'd kind of like explain, we're coordinating the invoice dates due on each count with the people of federal assistance receiving their money from the government.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Okay? So, that's it. What happens, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a timeline. I figured out the first week, taking the number of recipients of Okeechobee and Glades, okay, you will wind up about $560,000 come in the first week. The second week, it's almost $2.5 million. And the third week is also $2.5 million. Okay? That's 2.5. That's a lot of money per month coming in to your customers that are on federal assistance to pay their bills. This is just a line graph showing how it goes up to the satellite, coming down to the banks then process it to the person, and the person starts to pay the bills. If we can time the dates, okay, those people, the people that don't know how to budget their money, and trust me, I've been trying to do this the past couple of years, living on a shoestring budget, working with the auto pays and trying to do my bills, and at the same time visiting 10 hospitals because my son was sick and he died. So I was juggling everything, trying to do this, okay?
Well, Miss Peggy, I want to say that we appreciate you coming forward and especially all the time that you've put into this. It's very enlightening. I appreciate that. This is something that I think we as a board can look at and consider. We'll work with Mr. Hayford, and if we have any questions or any other feedback, we will certainly, as long as Michelle has your information, reach out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not, it's just a,
Right, it's a suggestion, and I totally appreciate it. Yes,
This board
ma'am.
is very attuned to the fact, and I state the reputation of each one of us, because you have, welcome first off to Okeechobee, all right? We are very keen to helping the people. The economy is not where it needs to be at this time, and we will do every effort to try to coordinate the suggestion that you have with regard to the payment schedule. At this time, we'll direct Mr. Hayford to look into it and to coordinate with yourself so that we can accommodate the folks.
Yes, I happened to watch your board meeting from last month. You have a lot of projects. One project was up around $12 million. For you as a company to be able to project a little bit more efficiently and have a slight control over at least this amount of money, okay, would allow your company to move forward with your planning of improving your facilities and things like this. This is something that your board would have to escalate up to the governor's office. Okay, this is not small. I mean, you can start, you can do the brainstorming. You're going to be the originators. But if I gave you the numbers of the cash flow that is coming into our state, okay, and that's on federal assistance. Can you imagine what it would do to the whole United States? Okay, and I'm coming to you because you do represent less than 1%. And if it works here, and we iron out all of the communications, because it's very simple, and the fix is just working on a computer program in the date of where you determine when an account starts to become delinquent.
Yes, ma'am, we do understand that.
Okay? It's so simple. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peggy.
Okay?
Take care.
Go reach your bag.
Yes, thank you. Can I leave now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Peggy.
Thank you.
Welcome to Okeechobee.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item agenda. Discussion agenda at this time, which includes the city park proposal, previous meeting agenda items, cemetery road fencing, cemetery road maintenance projects, cemetery road emergency clarifier repair, USDA loan closing, and the Northeast Glades County wastewater master plan. John?
So, Mr. Chairman and board members, item number 27.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ritter is here with the city to represent the city, but we got a request from the city to utilize some OUA property down near our pump station, which is right here, is SE2, and next to it is the city Centennial Park. But on the west side of it is some acreage, some lots that we purchased so that we would have access to our pump station as needed on an emergency basis. But the city has come up with a conceptual plan, for a dog park. I've asked Mr. Ritter to be here to discuss their options, which I believe I put copies in your board package of what they were contemplating, or at least conceptualizing for a dog park. And I believe he's interested to know if this board, the OUA, would be receptive to the city utilizing some of our property for a dog park. So he's here to discuss it further with you and to see where, if anything, we can move forward. From our position as far as the OUA, we need to have full access to our facility when we need it. So there could not be any kind of permanent structures put in the way of our access to the pump station site.
Just one question, if I may. Where does liability lie, God forbid, somebody gets bit on our property by a dog in the park?
So I would certainly defer that to Mr. Ritter to answer that question, and our attorney, but clearly there would have to be some kind of hold harmless agreement that the city would cover any liability to the OUA for pet injuries, human injuries, loss, that type of deal on our property due to this dog park being there, or trip and fall, or whatever may happen.
Right. I mean, I'm for fucking a fantastic conceptual idea. Definitely make it down there. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, board.
Step
Attorney.
up to the hot podium, please.
John, Gary Ritter, city administrator. Yeah, of all things, coming to talk to you about is dog park. Well, so this was kind of a concept that was brought up before some of our council members by their constituents. There's been some folks across the area, the county and the city, that have been interested in a dog park area. So we knew you all had this piece of property over there, so initially, in Chairman Nelson, to your point, I think the devil's in the details in terms of the liability. I think all of those items and questions would have to be worked out before we put anything in there. I have reached out to the Sheriff's Department, Michael Hazeleaf. Michael has some grant funding to actually put infrastructure in there if this was allowed. So, you know, we thought we'd come before you, see, kind of get your feeling for it, see if this would be something you might be amenable to. And if so, we could come up with some designs and criteria and work with the attorney to see what the liability issues are and bring you back a plan. And in listening to John, of course, we understand too that you would also have to have access to your facility over there. So it would have to be designed around to the point where you would still be able to get in there without any obstructions.
It's a great idea. I fully support it. I don't think there'd be any problem working at the liability whatsoever. It's something that is needed in the area, and I think would be something that the public can finally see, that the Okeechobee Utility Authority is not a main institution with respect to supporting the community over here. And I was the chairman way back on the park project, and I'm glad to see that it's coming to full tuition right now. So I definitely will help you support that, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So based on the two conceptual plans that have been presented and doing an overlay of the property that we have, is that going to provide us enough room to get our equipment in and out without any issues?
So I'd have to run that by staff, primarily the maintenance department, but I would ask a question of the city administrator. I understand on your photo here, if you look at it, this is part of a stormwater pond.
Mm-hmm.
If that stormwater pond was reshaped to say to be this shape, could the dog park be in this area? Or even over into this area, leaving full access to the station from here? So would the city be amenable to maybe making the dog park in this area as opposed to, say, this area?
Yeah, I think we could work together and look at, you know, different positioning of that. Of course, I think too, up there in the front part, if you cut off a section that's next to your station where you have to get access, we would also have to consider some area for parking, because I know, you know, we probably don't have enough in Centennial Park right now.
Parking is not much of a problem for us because
Yeah.
you're not really putting anything permanent in there that would deny us access to the station. So we could certainly make this a parking area, if you will. I was just talking about when you start talking about
Yep.
fences
Yep.
and dog walks and jumps and things that may be in the way of us gaining access. Again, if we could reshape it down into this area and leave parking over here, that might be more amenable for our maintenance department issues. We'll still have to get through the hold harmless and the
Yep.
liability
Yep.
issues, but that's something we can work through.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the idea of moving it over and reshaping. Yeah, I do. I like that. And it leaves,
Yeah.
again, more opportunity for parking as well.
So what,
And it's kind of off in one of the things that I was a little sensitive with is your neighbor there, and it kind of, that option kind of gets you a little ways away from that.
well, we can still do landscaping down the west property line to shield it visually.
Yeah.
So I would say from our perspective, and I can't speak for the board, so we'll get direction from the board. I think what's more important now is to go from that conceptual plan that might fit in anywhere to something more specific for this site and bring it back to the board for consideration,
All
if you
right.
will. Is that, I'm not speaking for the board, but I'm just making that as a suggestion. It would probably be much easier for me and staff to grasp how much property are you really talking about and where would it fit on that plan?
And certainly I think there's enough room, no matter how we change the configuration there, to make it enough size to have a nice park out of it.
And my other question would be, as far as the cost, you said that Mr. Hazeleaf had enough grant funding.
He's got grant funding. Now, I don't know how much grant funding he has. I'll have to, I told him that what I would do is I would come to you all first. And if you all were amenable, then him and I would sit down and talk and see how much money, because he really would like to see something like this come in.
And
So
the future upkeep would be the responsibility of the city?
it would, it would
Okay.
fall on us, yeah.
Okay.
Because we, I would look at it then as just a kind of an extension of Centennial Park. So,
Very good.
all right.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Pleasure.
Do we need
Thanks.
a motion or just information only at this point?
I would suggest information only at this point until they bring back something more specific for that site that we can actually look at.
Thank you, Gary.
Yep.
Moving on to item agenda number 28, previous meeting agenda items.
So, at our last meeting, there was not a quorum. We did not reach a quorum of members, so we could not actually take any formal action on any of those items. The action was taken after the fact with individual polling of board members to get their direction either moving, either in the approval or disapproval of various consent agenda items. And you can see that there were these items here that were talked about, 6 items that were up for consideration because either they required payment, like our consent agenda for different vendors, or paying contractors and or doing finance reports or meeting minutes. So you can see that there were these 6 agenda items. They were all under consideration by the board as far as action, and I can tell you that they were all on an individual basis discussed and approved, but I wanted to bring it back for the full board to know if there were any kind of public comments, and then to take formal action on the actions done by OUA staff. So as you go through it, it's basically, requesting the formal approval of those actions that we took per emailed comments. And if there's any discussion on any of these items.
Any discussion from the board at this time? If not, do I have a motion to accept the previous consent agenda?
Do you want to do them individually, sir, or all as a group?
I think as a, can we do that as a group?
Yes, you may.
As a group.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Trent. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Harry, your second? John?
John.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 29.
Okay. So many months ago, this board looked at security fencing for the Cemetery Road facility. It started out as primarily doing just the treatment plant then it was the treatment plant and the ponds, and then there was some sticker shock. I'll put it that way as far as what that pricing would do. Then there were other facilities that may or may not need fencing. It ultimately ended up that the property line facing Cemetery Road, abutting Cemetery Road, was the weakest link, if you will, on that perimeter fencing where there may be public access. So staff was directed to, excuse me, get pricing for putting in a new agricultural field type fence along Cemetery Road. Well, to be able to do that, there were some low spots that were that would prohibit a good fence going in, so we had to go in and do some clearing, demucking, bringing in fill material to levelize it. That has been done, so now you see in your board package several quotes from local contractors to put in the field fence. You can see the pricing there. It ranges from 46,000 and change up to 62,000 and change. You know, the only difference really between the two lower bids, the second lowest bid does a little more clearing of the fence line, both horizontally and vertically. That is the biggest difference in the two quotes. But the one that does the additional clearing is approximately $2,000 higher. So in staff's review of the quotes, we would be satisfied with either quote, the $46,242 by Clay Aluminum, or Chase Land Services at $48,200. You just get a little more work, a better finished product out of the Chase bid. Mr. Kennedy, our Assistant Director, is here to answer any specific questions you might have between those two bids. It's really, this is all per board direction to put in the new security fence. It will make it a better place. It's not on all the sides, but it is on the front-facing side. That where you could easily have somebody park on the road and try to get into the perimeter ditch to go fishing, or certainly there are some four-legged animals out there that people might want, and of course it's open land.
So the specification on the fence is a little bit more than just a standard agricultural fence. It's going to be 10-foot posts, 4 feet into the ground, 5-inch top posts. So these are large, heavy posts, spaced appropriately. There'll be a single strand of barbed wire 8 inches off the ground. 3 inches above that will be a 49-inch piece of hog wire, knotted wire fencing, followed by 3 strands of barbed wire on top. So we're going to wind up with like 69 inches to the top wire. It's almost a 6-foot fence. So it'll be something that'll be difficult to climb, restrictive of ATVs or anything like that coming through. Currently, there's a 5-strand barbed wire fence is what's been there, looks like for decades. Actually, there's kind of a remnant fence down on that of the same. So with the bids, you know, they would come in and remove that old fencing. On the eastern end of it, there's some very large pepper trees, and we've been doing some herbicide control from our side, but we're not able to really fully kill the trees because they're over into the road right away and ditch. So the 3 of the bidders proposed to come in with a grinder head on a skid steer machine, which would allow them to grind and mulch that vegetation, which we could then follow up with our staff and do some herbicide treatment of the stumps to prevent them from growing back. What Chase Land Service offered is they have an excavator with a grinder head, so they're going to be able to reach out over and clear right down to the bottom of the ditch. And we're in a good time of the year with dry season, there's not water in the ditch currently, so it would allow clearing of a much wider swath. And the biggest problem with maintaining fences like this is the vegetation growing into them, primarily Brazilian pepper trees. They grow into the fence, they push it over and just get in the way. So we feel like getting a very thorough fence line clearing and leave just kind of the native vegetation, the nice oaks and things, that and even with those, he can reach up and trim the limbs off that side with this machine. So for the extra money, we felt like it probably benefit us in the long run and make the fence line more maintainable, is we're gonna have to do herbicide control basically through the fence from our side to the fences. And again, with the canal, perimeter canal on the property, it is an could be considered an attractive nuisance that if, people start coming and going, and they could be now, we don't know. But with a fence like this, it's not something somebody's gonna slip through or easily scale over. So it felt like, in comparison to the other options, that this was of the best protection to OUA.
Is there an easement on that dike, also an easement?
There is an easement for the power poles.
Yes.
Do we have to coordinate with them?
They have a key in the gate at the entrance where they can access the roadway.
Yeah, at the, near our entry gate, the post will be very close to the fence, talk with the contractor, and they will, skirt that line. As it goes farther to the northeast, the gap between their poles and the property line opens up, so there'll be probably close to 10 feet between the poles. And these are all recently replaced, large, storm-hardened poles, so they shouldn't need to be in there for any kind of thing routinely for quite some time, because it is all fresh work that's been done. It's not an old power line run.
Who does the maintenance on that now? We do?
We do.
We do. It's not much. We go in there and mow once in a while, but it's, for the most part, it's not much.
It's open enough. They use like a batwing tractor drawn mower. It's large scale, 5,700 feet, so more than a mile long. Fence line that mow and maintain.
So do we need a motion?
If it's the board's pleasure to redo the fence, we need a selection of a contractor and a motion. Yes, ma'am?
I'll make a motion to select Chase Land Service LLC with a bid of $48,200.
I have a motion by Ms. Trent. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I guess not.
My lips are moved.
I don't know, is Steve allowed to vote? Is Steve allowed to vote?
Sure.
Oh,
There's four voting members.
I second the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
I'm just not sure that this is necessary. It's the expense that I don't really know that it's necessary that we really go through this.
But we have a fence there now, and the fence there now is in desperate need of repair.
I think it's more of the liability
That's my point.
of,
So we're on record right
Yes.
now as far as liability.
I agree
So-
with respect, yes. Funding is extremely tight. We're living in times that are totally uncertain from second to second right now. But the liability is a major consideration that I'm looking at. Because one accident, God forbid, a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against a $48,000 fence.
Comments from our attorney?
You would be protected by sovereign immunity to the tune of 300,000, I think, but that's not very, it's not an attractive way to go. Better to get your liability set beforehand.
I'll vote yes.
So, I'll go back to all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Further discussion? Motion carries. I think it's money that's well spent at this time.
We want to talk liability about other issues. Well, this is a lawsuit waiting to happen if one of these kids gets in there and drowns while they're fishing, because it does happen.
There's been, nationally, local news in West Palm Beach, Woodlands Medical School, where the youngsters, we happen to have a house right around the corner from them, and the liability that's on the school, even though it wasn't the problem is great. And you and I know, unfortunately, with autos, everything.
Well, I understand the liability issue. It's been that way for a long time.
Yes.
We keep having to spend money to.
Well, we need to keep things up as a part of our maintenance around here.
Even close to that part.
Yeah. think it's fine.
Yeah, I know it does jump to that.
No. I'm just moving on to,
So that's Seabury. That's part of, what we were approving on 28 was this February agenda stuff.
So we're going on the next one?
yes, sir.
I'm sorry, agenda item number 30. Again, our wastewater treatment plant is on our agenda for the day. This next item is for some annual long-term maintenance that is needed to sandblast and paint some different portions of the treatment plant. The ones that we have recently finished the effluent disposal piping, leaving the contact chamber. We're now looking at doing the clarifier that we're going to be talking about next. It's in standby, along with influent piping and the ag filters. We've presented to you both the sandblasting cost and the prime coating and paint. It's going to total roughly around a little over $32,000. And trying to lump them all together, we are seeking board approval of a not to exceed amount of $40,000 to be able to complete this sandblasting, prime coat, and painting of these exposed metals. They are in pretty sad shape right now. As you can imagine, with the treatment plant, there is some buildup of surface rust and other items on the piping. We need to clean them off, blast them, paint them, and make them good for another 10 or 15 years. So you see the items there, a discussion between the standby clarifier, influent piping, and the ag filters.
How long has this unit been down?
I don't know the answer. Does anybody know? It's been down for quite a while.
Yeah, you said annual maintenance, though.
This is painting, surface rust. We need to clean, we're gonna be able to sandblast and paint all those wetted areas. The next item is to do the repairs, and then we can put it back in service, and you're not gonna be able to get to those surfaces. It's painting before we put it back in service, for the clear.
Any comments, Chris, from?
Morning, board members and fellow OUA staff. My name is Christopher Cassidy. I'm the current supervisor at the wastewater treatment plant there on Cemetery Road. I was retired for 3 years. I got a letter, came back to work for you all. I'm having a good time. I enjoy it. But I do have to tell you, this is essential. There's three different aspects to the DEP. You have the deep well that monitoring and inspection, and you have the regular plant, and then you have the monitoring wells. On the previous to me deep well inspection, we were cited, and then we had a violation for the condition of the piping. These other pipings in areas that are being addressed is far more worse than deep well. So there are three different entities. One doesn't look at the other, but if we were to get an inspection, you would get a violation for the way that the plan is currently. So we have to correct that as soon as possible.
What about these other issues that you mentioned, the piping?
Yeah, the piping, it's deteriorating because it's rusting. So we replaced a bunch of bolts to stainless steel bolts from steel, so we won't have to change them again. But we need to sandblast, prime, and paint this piping to make sure it doesn't degrade anymore. Because if it could be a liability issue for you with the pipes breaking and actually a violation of your permit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just want a little more information about, when I was out there, it looked like that unit had been down for a long time.
Well, the clarifier, that's a separate issue, but yeah, we need to address that as well. I could talk about that after you deal with this.
That's the next agenda item.
Okay.
We need a motion to accept the,
If you would mind not to exceed, so that we can move forward with the sandblasting painting of this exposed piping.
I make a motion, we move forward.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
Is that not
Moving on to the next.
What?
Is that not to exceed or just?
Yeah.
So you can say that.
Item number 31, John.
So, Mr. Chairman and board members, you have in front of you item 31 is for repair to the clarifier. It's labeled different numbers, 1A, but on our map, it is one that's been in a standby mode for a number of years, needing repairs. With this thing out of service, we have lost our redundancy at the treatment plant if there was something to happen to the other clarifier. So it is an issue. It is permitted to be ready for service, and it is certainly a high recommendation that we move forward with these emergency repairs to this clarifier with the company that provided the original inner workings for the clarifier, and they gave us a quote of $94,592.50 to be able to come in, take off, fly off the overhead work, repair the drive, and put it back together.
I have a question. It says that it's been temporarily offline. How long has the temporarily offline been?
It's my understanding it's been years.
A number of years.
Yeah.
So my question, John, is why wasn't this in the budget? If
It is in the budget.
It is in the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry if I didn't make that clear.
I didn't understand that part. So it has been budgeted to do this?
Yes, sir.
Just asking to
Yes, sir.
move forward with this?
And when this one is done, we'll take the other one offline, clean it out, have them come back and inspect it to see if anything's worn on that one, and you may be getting a second bill for repairs to the other clarifier. Both of them are budgeted. I mean, they're in the budget,
That was
but
my question.
So was there any type of monetary penalties whenever we were cited?
no, most of those I know he said they're permit violations, but what they do is they come in and do these CEI inspections, and it's either pass or fail. And so it's not necessarily, now, if we did not take action and there were repetitive, then there could be monetary. But what they are looking for is that they identify problems and that actions are actually taken to rectify and fix those problems.
There's not been any noted health issues or anything because of this at all?
No, but you know, the deal is with the second clarifier out of service, it could add operational issues. Because if you're having plant upsets, you don't have the latitude and luxury of going to a second clarifier. So it's one of those situations. Yes, let's keep in, this whole plant was designed for up to 4 million gallons of flow.
Yes.
We're getting 800,000 gallons. We're at 25%. So it's not like it's hydraulically overloaded, but it's just, I'm sorry. It's just the idea that we get some operational flexibility, which makes their job easier and a better product on the finish end. So it is something that we need to do.
So
Yeah.
I guess, I think when we were out there, when the other clarifier wasn't working, then you had to put the wastewater in the deep well, is that correct? Instead of in the pond, or?
No. It goes to either the pond, the field, or the deep well. Since I've been there, we've been able to make permit. The problem is you don't have a backup. If you lose that clarifier, which is very old, and there's some issues with it, I could see visually, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So again, we lost our redundancy, and it's not something that we would actually like to be in on a regular basis. So the idea is fix this one, get it operational by June timeframe, and then we take the other one out of service, clean it out, and do the same inspection through the company and do repairs, whatever's needed. At a minimum, we know we'll do sandblasting and painting, but there may be other parts that we have to fix.
So we don't know if there's any mechanical issues yet?
With the one that's operational,
The one that is not operational.
The one that is not operational needs at a minimum a new drive gear installed, and that's part of this $92,000. So yes, there are repairs right now so that we can put it back into operation.
I just wanted to add that in the budget, we had $227,000. I think we should cover both clarifiers. So this is the first stage. Hopefully the second stage will be in line with the budget, but should there be any differential, I'm sure that the team will provide explanation to the board.
Thank you. I make a motion that we move forward with the repairs on the clarifier.
As presented, right?
As presented.
And I'll second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item number 31. I'm sorry, 32, excuse me. USDA loan.
Okay, thank you. Let's do a bit of history before we come to the present, right? So some time ago, in August 2021, there was a letter of proposal that was received by the authority in terms of providing partial funding to the Southwest Service Area septic to sewer project by the USDA. The board at that time, in the September 2021 meeting, had voted 5-1 to proceed with the USDA financing proposal. During that time, from then until now, there has been a number of amendments, a number of things that we as an authority had to provide. But the total amount, which was set at $7.5 million rounded, and also a grant of $883,000 has been approved by the board. Now, presently, as of today, of that $7.5 million, we have spent a total of $7.4 million. That is through the interim finance, which is via South State Bank. We were able to do the first drawdown. The intention is that following the depletion of that fund from South State Bank, then USDA will step in, repay South State, and then offer a 40-year loan financing to OUA at an interest rate of 1.37%. Now, having reached almost depleted that funding via South State, we are now at a stage where we are ready to do the closing of the USDA loan, and they have set a date of April 2nd to do the closing here. And all parties, in terms of the attorneys, the engineers, and persons, including the chairman, and we come into that as well, to a representative from the board, will all need to be present at the closing, where documents will be signed, formally taking on that USDA 40-year loan. So at this juncture, what we are coming to the board, because the meeting is set for April 2nd, a few weeks from now, and we don't have another board meeting prior to this, the signing. One of the things that we would like to have reconfirmed, and the USDA is requesting that this board reconfirm, that the present board is in agreement to proceed with the facility. So that's will be a motion number one, really, that the present compilation of the board, because when this took place in 2021, the compilation of the board was different from what we presently have here. So they would like to have a motion being moved, accepting that the authority, giving the authority permission to proceed with the facility of the loan of $7,508,000. followed by a grant of $883,000 as partial funding towards the Southwest Service Area project. With that being said, and the signing being set for April 2nd, we are also asking that the board do empower and allow the chairman and along with staff to sign and to execute the documentation that are involved in the closing of the loan application on April 2nd. So those are two motions that we are the staff is coming to the board requesting that a motion be moved in the first situation, confirming present board continuing to agree to proceed with the facility, and number two, to empower the chairman and staff to execute the closing on April 2nd. Mr. Attorney, we have to do two separate motions, right? Okay, fine. Just making sure. I'm pretty sure.
Do I have a motion to proceed with USDA loan?
Turn the page. That's what they're approving, 2502. Okay. So basically, you're reaffirming the work that was, or the action that was taken in earlier on to proceed with the USDA loan grant application.
Correct.
We have actually used the money.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Do I have a second by Mr. Moldenhauer? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
The second motion that we're looking for is authorization by the board for the chairman and staff to execute these documents required on April 2nd.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Moldenhauer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Sorry.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so having cleared that first hurdle, having given the agreement or the assurance that the authority can proceed, the USDA is asking that a next motion be raised accepting Resolution 2502. Now, Resolution 2502 is where the authority, the board, is giving its commitment that we will engage the service of an independent auditor, which is a licensed certified public accountant, within 9 months of the authority financial year, and this is in line with federal regulation, which we presently do abide by. So, but of course, the USDA is very peculiar, and they specifically ask that a resolution be moved, Resolution 2502. And the heading of the resolution says, a resolution of Okeechobee Utility Authority, Okeechobee, Florida, enter into an agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture to provide annual audit on the facility in accordance with the with OMB circulation, which is a federal regulation during the life of the loan.
So every year for 40 years.
Every year for 40 years, so the life of the loan. But of course, as an authority, we are obliged to do an independent audit. And if we are receiving federal funds, then we have to do additional information on that audit as well. So is there a motion, Mr. Chairman, accepting Resolution 2502?
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Trent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moldenhauer. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
5B.
Okay, so having completed the process of agreeing to move forward with the USDA financing, on the USDA was not too particular, but our bond counsel is very particular that we cannot proceed as an authority to to enter into a signing arrangement without having the bond resolution being presented this morning, and that is according to a number of state statute, which requires that before we enter into a bond signing, then there must be a resolution be moved to accept that where the board do agree and approve the authority to engage into a financial arrangement with USDA. So presently we have 2503. It's a wordy heading as provided, but basically it is saying that the board hereby authorize the authority to proceed with funding not to exceed $7,508,000, which is to be used as partial funding to help in the construction of a sewer collection system to serve the authority's southwest section wastewater service area. That is really in a nutshell what it is. So here again, as I said, in keeping with the recommendation of the Bond Council, Mr. William Kopko of Lewis, Longman and Walker, we are asking the board to accept Resolution 2503 by a motion, please. The details are attached.
We have a motion at this time to accept Resolution 2503 as stated.
And, sorry, it is to accept and execute the resolution.
And execute. At this time,
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Trent. Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Hildebrand? No, I'm sorry.
This resolution wasn't in our agenda.
It's 5B, which was handed out this morning.
Just as
It was handed out this morning, Mary.
Okay.
Again, I apologize for that, but the bond council and myself was here last night trying to put it together to catch the board meeting.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll talk to you after, but
Yes, sir.
your service is required on the second at 10
My
a.m.
pleasure again, sir. Okay. Moving on to item number 33.
So, Mr. Chairman and board members, there was a RFP that went out for the Northeast Glades County wastewater master plan effort. CHA Solutions was the #1 ranked firm accepted by the board. We went back as staff to negotiate a scope of work and fee schedule. That scope of work and fee schedule is attached in the board package for your review. Essentially, the scope of work and it allows for up to estimated 131 calendar days to do the work for $45,600. It's up for review and discussion now by the board and or approval that we could enter into this agreement with CHA Solutions to do the work for the Northeast Glades County area. As a refresher, this is to be able to go in and look at our existing service area, Buckhead Ridge, as well as the new proposed development, Lakefront Estates, to identify collection systems, pumping, treatment, and disposal for wastewater services in that area. It is only a planning document. It's not anywhere near permitting or design, but it will give us a path moving forward should we want to get into the wastewater business in that area. I can tell you that we have also, in a parallel path, done some temporary work applying for grant assistance to do this project, but that is unknown if that's going to be approved at this time. So it's really upon the OUA as to whether we approve the fees, which we will use as a planning document moving forward in support of the state appropriation that is out right now in Tallahassee, and any future FDEP grant awards will chase for wastewater services in Glades County.
So is it necessary that we approve this right now without us knowing that there's going to be grant funding? I mean, isn't that right around the corner?
My recommendation would be we go ahead and approve and get started, because at a minimum, we have, I think it's a $3.25 million state appropriation out for design and permitting of a treatment plant. We know that there will be a window opening in June for DEP grants, and I would like to have this document done as our basis for moving forward with any other requested work items associated with wastewater collection and treatment in Glades County.
So this could help us with our grant applications in June then?
I believe it will help us with the applications. I also believe that if we show that we're moving forward with this planning steps, it would show good faith on our part, looking forward to any grant applications. Obviously can't guarantee anything, but I'm just saying it is something that we have in hand, showing we're doing the work. Case study, the OUA board funded 2 water quality studies for Treasure Island, Taylor Creek Isles. Those water quality studies were easily used in trying to obtain grant funding for the Treasure Island project, and will use, and we'll do more. So yes, it is a staff recommendation that we do move forward with this master plan effort for Glades County.
And it will be completed in time to be submitted with the grant.
That's what we're striving to get this done before the grant process. It's very close at 130 some odd days to get it ready by June. It just depends upon when they open the window and when the applications are due. So if it's July or August, we'll have it done. They've opened before in June, but you have a window with which to submit. I think it went to August last year, but, and we have those still pending, and we don't know if we got any, so we'll see.
I'll move that we accept the proposal from CHA to conduct a Glades County wastewater master plan at a fee not to exceed $45,600.
I have a motion by Mr. Moldenhauer. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Moving on to item agenda number 34, Operations Director. Good morning, sir.
Morning. You'll have my report there. Any questions? May go over them individually, or?
Yeah, please.
The surface water plant, general maintenance, groundwater plant, we're still doing prep work for the pilot program that's going on, and just normal operations. Maintenance, general maintenance there, normal operations, leaks, complaints, new services. We have two employees in school this week, March 17th. 2 are going for their water distribution certification, and 1 employee is going to get backflow certified at schools in Fort Pierce. Wastewater plant, general maintenance, we're advertising for a licensed operator out there. 2 new operators. Trainees started first of the month, and you had several items in the board packet today for the wastewater plant, which were all approved.
What's the status on the ozone generator?
From my understanding, I believe one side's down, but the other side's operational, and we're waiting on a part.
Almost. We are requested, right now what we are requesting from several sources. One, we have been renting a chiller unit. It has seemed to be beneficial, so we've got a request out to the vendor to say, okay, what would it cost to sell us this piece that we've been renting, because we don't want to keep renting it, or what's the price to buy a new unit? So that is in the works. The group that did the maintenance work, They identified some repairs needed on the chilling piping to be cleaned out and or replaced. They are preparing a quote for us. And then the second ozone generator needs the same refurbishment that we did the generator number 1, where they go in and tear it apart, look for any damage, make the repairs, and set it for another 4 or 5 years of operation. So they're working, but there is some additional work that's needed, and we're waiting on those cost estimates for the chiller and then the additional maintenance work on both generators for the cooling pipe and refurbishment of number 2.
Can you expand on what the chiller did, the benefits of that?
So the chiller is, we have water that comes in from our distribution network that is basically acts as a heat exchanger for the generator. When the generator runs, it produces a lot of heat. And the more heat, the efficiency goes down. So we take water from the distribution system to basically absorb that heat, and then it gets disposed. So it's a heat exchanger. Well, the problem is, due to the rising temperatures in the lake and in our distribution system, our water temperature in the distribution has been creeping up, so that the benefit of that exchange of the heat from the generator into our piping has been minimized. So we're not keeping the temperature in the more optimum range for the generator. So what we do is we take our water from the distribution, run it through this chiller to lower the temperature from the 80s into the 70s, which makes it, that water temperature, better as a heat exchanger, essentially.
Is that unit big enough to operate both ozones when they're running, or just one at a time? Or do you run both ozones?
We haven't run both at the same time, so I don't know the answer to that, but I can make a note to ask, is the chiller big enough for both? But it's my understanding, yes, it is, but I'll get that to confirm.
And we haven't even been running that. I was in the lake, I think the water is about 68, 69 degrees now.
Summer's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I have a couple other things that I'll expand on. We talked about education. One of the things that's going to be happening near the end of this month, certainly before the next board meeting, it's not something that's happening now, we're going to be sending 2 employees up to Airvac in Rochester, Indiana, where they actually have a hands-on demonstration of how vacuum sewers work, both technically and visually, and then hands-on experience how to do repairs, and then they actually build vacuum units there. So they get to show them what goes into the skid units and the control panel. It's very, very informational. I will tell you that I did it back in 2000 timeframe for our first vacuum. I imagine it's very, very similar to what we did there, and it's wonderful for them to be able to take new young people that don't know a lot about how the system works and give them some basis and background, so that when you fire a valve, here's what actually happens. It's a wonderful process. So it's an expense for us. We have to fly them up there, rental cars, hotels, food, that type of deal. But it's a wonderful, essentially a 3-day experience at the factory. So it's about our process of making those newer, younger guys better, stronger, and what they're doing out in the field. We're adding a lot of new vacuum pits, new vacuum stations. We need to have a bigger workforce that understands how the system works. So it's part of the proactive issue that we're trying to work with on training. The other thing I would like to, is there any questions about that?
No.
So
That's next week.
Yes.
They leave Monday.
So
Schooling's free, we just gotta get them there.
it's not free. Cost me
We're not
airfare,
paying
rental,
for it. We paid
hotel.
for it somewhere
It's
along
never
the way.
free, but okay, I'll buy that, Barry. So the other thing I'd like to add, or at least expand upon, we don't use, by choice, our groundwater plant right now because the water's too hard. It scales up. The calcium carbonate's unreal. The plant was never designed to take that out of the service. So the ozone generator people also deal with, water treatment, and they've got a trailer-mounted pilot scale that will guarantee, it's the guy on the back of the wagon selling the snake oil, guarantee that they can take hardness out of the water. Great. It's in play in other places, Indiantown, but what they recommended is they will bring it over at no charge, again, free, it's a free word, this demonstration unit, and then we can run it on our raw water coming in from the wells, and then we'll just discharge it to the ponds. It's not free. The unit itself is free, but there's going to be some cost associated with parts to make it work, like wiring and piping. There's going to be cost for the laboratory so that we can confirm that the hardness is removed. PFAS is an issue right now, the forever chemicals. So we're going to do some sampling of the well and the finished product to see. There's lots of things that we can get from this. So for about a month, once we're prepared and we've done the necessary repairs and prep work at the groundwater plant, we're going to be bringing that in and running it for 3-4 weeks to see if this actually does work as promised, and whether or not we'd like to make, if it does, whether or not we'd like to make the investment on this technology so that we can produce a better water quality at our groundwater plant and actually put it into service. So it's kind of a fun deal, but it's what we're trying. Again, we've got a plant over there that is a backup and we don't use, and we would really like to start using it. So that's in the works. So hopefully next month we might be able to give you some insight as to what we're doing with the pilot plant. So it's kind of fun times. Any questions on the pilot?
Thanks, sir.
Move on to item number 35, Finance Director.
Page 2, please, individual page.
Tell me when to stop.
Continue.
No, I said tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Keep going?
Continue. That's it.
Okay.
All right, so I will be very brief today. I know time is going, but nevertheless, we still have to spend a few minutes to look at how well the money has been going, right? And I think I just wanted to bring to the attention of the board that happy to say that all variances has reported are in a favorable position in terms of the revenue, in terms of the expenditures, and in terms of the net variance. So very quickly, if we look up top at the operating variance, up top our budget was at 5.8 million, we're at 6.1. Now, of course, we'll want to zero in on the revenue for water and sewer, and those two are at break even versus the budget. So that's a good indication we're not lagging at this point. We are roughly 5 months into the fiscal year, and we are breaking even. Of course, on the other line, the other revenue, we do have some favorable variance there of 314,000, which has to do with this the discounted the influx of customers signing up for services in the wastewater. A part of that, as we know, includes the installation charge, and that is really where that favorable variance is coming from. Page 16 does give a detail on that. On the expenses, we continue to be below budget in expenses. So yes, we are at 3.9, almost 4 million, where the budget is saying 4.5 million. We are not quite at the half year mark, so therefore there are some additional expenses that are planned later on. We heard of some things at the wastewater treatment plant that will be coming on, and possibly at the surface water plant. So those So while we see this variance, I do expect some sizable invoices that will come in thereafter. On the restricted revenue, we are also ahead, and that again, as we spoke about the capital connection charge, that has to be paid by these new signed up persons. So on the wastewater side, we had budgeted 90, we present at 605. We have extended the discount to, what was it again? April 1st? 30th. April 30th. So we had extended that to April 30th. And so we will see a little uptick. It was a little dormant for the past month. I think not much happened last month, but yes, we do expect a further uptick as it comes to the expiration of this discount. 75% discount, which is sizable, which was offered by the board. And then of course on the non-operating expenses, which is like depreciation and your loan interest payment, we're in line there. So all in all, I will say that as it is right now, we are in line and favorable, doing a little better than the budget at this stage, and we continue to watch the indicators as we go month by month. Any question relating to the finance report? If there are no questions, can they have a motion be moved accepting the report as so given and as so provided in the pages attached?
Do I have a motion to accept the report?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Trent. Second? Second by Mr. Carey. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Anything from our attorney at this time, sir?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had this old case. Hinterland Group had initiated a civil suit in connection with the project that the board has already resolved. They dismissed the suit on the 10th, really on the back of Mr. Hayford's negotiation with them and resolution of the contract. So that's it. Case started, case closed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. John, anything from your end?
You know, there's a lot of, I've talked about a few things, but there's just more of the same. A lot of projects going on. We're still trying to get Pine Ridge totally closed out. They know they owe us a warranty issue. I am not paid them yet because they haven't closed it out. We have to hold that. But as soon as they close out the projects, we will be able to finally close out Pine Ridge. We are continuing to work with the developer in Lakefront Estates. They may be starting their water main improvement that is going in between the tower and their development. Phase 2, we're still waiting on DEP to approve an easement to go under Lemkin Creek. When that happens, we'll go out to bid for the second phase of the 16-inch water main going in on State Road 78. So there's a lot of projects going on. We're terribly busy, but it's active and it's all good. So we are actively trying to hire an assistant finance director position. We've mentioned before, treatment plant operators. It's a never-ending business. We're always trying to fill vacancies and move forward. I'll answer any questions you might have on any of these agenda items, but good news. We've had a very long process for our consumptive use permit allocation. I'm going to go out there and maybe put some bad vibrations on it, but it's our understanding that that could be approved as early as this week or next week. That's been a very lengthy process, but it's our understanding that it's going to be approved very shortly. So that's going to be a good thing. Long time in coming.
Yes.
Jeff Sumner is the lead on that. Staff has been helpful.
We started that.
For the record, Jeff Sumner had hair on top of his head when he started the project, but no, it's exciting news. Thankfully, with our staff, consultants, and water management district, looks like it's going to be a positive outcome. So that's a good thing for us. So we take it when we get it, but it's an exciting time, a lot going on. Looks like it's going to be a very busy summer.
Once we get under Lincoln Creek, John, what's the process there getting on down?
So, the consultant that has been working on that, has 3 different phases of piping, engineering, design, construction, puts it at still about $10 million to get us all the way to the water tower. There's 3 segments. I met with a state agency, again, for like the wastewater deal, and appraised them of the 3 segments, and it's my understanding they're going to look at trying to help us with one of them. So we're going to be pursuing grant funding where we can, and assistance from the developer. You know, they cost shared with us, and we'll get started to move on the 3rd segment when once we get cleared on once we get number 2 ready to go. I will share a little bit of bad news. The the federal appropriation that we had approved by Congressman Franklin's office for the AMI, when the federal government passed a continuing resolution as opposed to approving the budget, our request went bye-bye. So we have to refile that request for the AMI funding, which the congressman's office said they would redo that for us. But it just means where we were in the budget when the way their procedure, where they did a funding resolution, a continuing resolution, rather than adopting the new budget, that all vaporized. So we'll keep after it. Sometimes it's 1 step forward, sometimes it's 2 back, but we just got to get ready to step forward again, and so we'll chase that.
Sorry. Okay. At this time, any items from the board? If not, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a blessed week.
Put down a new countertop down on the board down there, please.